Good morning and welcome to Happy Trails Hiking. This is Travel Tuesday and you're watching the Healthy Lifestyle Show. On this show, I invite you and encourage you to live the life you love. On Travel Tuesday, we have guests that are travel professionals, and today I have a fabulous guest for you today. I do want to let you know that our show is brought to you by our patrons, and those patrons are Panic D, our Haunted Travels, Deb Shane, Pam Huff, Needs More Subs, and Nerding for Nature. You can join our patrons for $5 a month and get behind the scenes footage from our park travels at patreon.com/happytrailshiking. So today is National Plan Your Vacation Day. What better day to have be Travel Tuesday? If you're interested in park travels and living a healthy lifestyle, I invite you to subscribe to our channel. Please share this out so that other folks will find our wonderful guest today. And she is Lisa Waterman Gray. A Kansas City resident, Lisa Waterman Gray has savored Quebec's finest cuisine, ridden in a pickup before a Kansas buffalo herd, toured natural Arizona landmarks with Native American guides. She has written features for Chowtown, Kansas City Star, Dreamscapes Travel and Lifestyle Magazine, Canadian, and 5 AAA magazines, as well as Midwest Living, Missouri Life, Kansas Magazine, Ladies' Home Journal, and the Christian Science Monitor. Lisa's online stories have posted at civilleats.com, foodtank.com, usatoday.com/10best.com, offbeattravel.com, busandmotorcoachnews.com, and wanderwithwonder.com. She is also a contributor to Chicken Soup for the Soul, Messages from Heaven and Other Miracles, January 2019, and author-photographer for the 394-page statewide travel book, An Explorer's Guide, Kansas, June 2011, published by Countryman Press, W.W. Norton and Company. Her website is lisawatermangray.com. Welcome, Lisa. It is so good to have you here today. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you. And let me let you know that we have a wonderful audience here today. And audience, let me know if you have questions for Lisa by hitting @HappyTrailsHiking or #HappyTrailsHiking in the chat box, and I will get your questions on. We're going to be talking about healthy travel tips today. So one of the very first questions I have for Lisa is it difficult to maintain a healthy lifestyle while traveling? Because you do it a lot. And what is your hardest part?
It is hard. I think the hardest part for me is if I'm on a press trip where somebody else is creating the schedule and they're creating it so that we can maximize the time that we have to explore a destination, but that may not allow much time for me to sleep and take care of some exercise. So that's probably the toughest.
Wow. Yes, I hear that. So sleeping, yes, getting good sleep always seems to be a challenge for me too. When I'm tired, I can't enjoy things. And you know that those sponsored trips pack in a ton of things.
Right.
What tips do you use for sleeping well while you're on those trips?
Well, first off, I'm very sensitive to both sound and light. So I really have to work at it. I wear earplugs even at home almost every night. It just kind of sounds that might disturb me otherwise. I also carry a sleep mask. I don't feel that I have to use it every night, but at least I know I have it available. In hotel rooms, there are often a lot of ambient lights. So for instance, I might put a small towel over the display in a microwave. I might close the curtains. This is a cool trick I saw on another travel website. Close the curtains by taking one of the hangers or a couple of the hangers that have the clips on them, and then clipping them to the two opposing sides of curtains. And that helps keep some of the light out also. Let's see. This is partially for the same reason of being sensitive to light, but also for privacy. If you carry Post-its with you, you can put one over the peephole in the door.
Oh, wow.
So those are some of the things that I definitely try to do.
I hadn't thought about that privacy tips, but that's a good one too. And the light from the hallway does come in through that peephole sometimes. Right. So that's a great tip. And I had seen that hanger tip where, you know, they have the clips on them for pants, I guess, or skirts.
Right.
And
right.
you turn it sideways and clip that curtain closed. That's a good one. I do want to say hello to the folks in the chat that took time out to say hello to us. And they are saying hello to you too. So that's fun. Let me scroll up here and see who I've got. We have Marty's Crew, Our Family Adventures, who is listening from the forklift, and he's excited that you're from or have been to Kansas because he's from Kansas and enjoys the bison out there as well. Desmond's Donders is here. Our Haunted Travels, Panic D. Deb Shane, Lori Bryant, Inspired John, Sherry, Awesome Sunsets Travel is here. Food Forest, as well as Minivan Adventures. So if you are in the chat and have not said hello yet, I just found out Northern Ohio Railroad Action is here. So if you haven't said hello yet, please say hello in the chat and let us know that you're here. So people are saying good morning to Lisa. And for those of you who are YouTube aficionados, Lisa does have a YouTube channel, and that link is down below, and you can see some of her travels and slideshows from her travels there. And she would love to have you come and make comments and subscribe to her channel because, you know, that encourages her to make more videos, and I like her videos. Minivan Adventure says, I do the same things, keeping the curtains closed with hanger clips and covering the microwave clock with towels. So that makes a lot of sense. Those are great tips. I love it. Let's see. My third question for you is that I never have trouble getting my steps in on trips. So my steps, I get a ton of them, but I do have trouble with my strength training and keeping up with, you know, all of the strength needs that I have. Do you have a routine that you do while you're traveling to keep strength training going?
Well, I do. Again, it always depends on how much time I have available, but probably 3 or 4 years ago, I found out I have some bone density issues and started working with a personal trainer and a yoga instructor. And especially with the personal trainer, I said to her, look, I travel a lot. I don't always know what facilities might be available. What can we do? What can I do in my room to work on, you know, building bone, strength training, etc. And so the entire regimen, I guess, that she gives me, I do half on one day and half on the next, involves resistance bands, foam blocks, a yoga strap. And not only are those portable in general, but they're very lightweight as well. So I can just pick up, you know, 10 minutes here and there if that's all I've got, and not feel like I have to make sure there's a gym and make sure that there's room on the equipment and that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I have. If you watched my workout Wednesdays, folks, I have the resistance band that I like to use here at home because I don't go to a gym. I just don't like them, but
I don't either really,
but you do what you got to do, right? But I have resistance bands for here at home. I do not take my 10 and 15 pound weights with me when I go places. So I have heard that you can use like the towels and things in the room as well for resistance and stretching, if nothing else. So those are great tips. So that's really really cool. And Lisa looks like she's in great shape, doesn't she? All right. So we like to talk about food almost all the time. So if I'm not talking about travel on the Healthy Lifestyle Show, I'm talking about food. And one of our favorite tips that guests like to give is about having travel snacks.
Right.
Lots of people travel with kids and they want to make sure that they have kids snacks and things like that. What are your favorite travel snacks for when you're traveling?
Well, first off, kids are not part of the equation. So
Yeah, me neither.
for me. So keep that in mind when I say these, especially if I'm going on a road trip or have a very early morning flight. One of the things that I love to do is take a whole grain tortilla, put a bunch of peanut butter on, a little bit of honey, and slice a banana in half, and then wrap it up. And it's easy to, take a bite if I'm driving to the airport, or eat it in the airport or on the airplane, depending on timing and how much hunger I have. Whether or not I'm on the road, literally road trip, or traveling by air with a group, some of the things I always want to have are things I have at home as well. So I always take walnuts. They're portable. They've got a lot of good fatty acids in them. 72% chocolate. I just take a chocolate bar that I can break up.
Mm-hmm.
Raisins or dried cranberries are some others. And then if I'm behind the wheel and I'm going to be on the road all day, I want to avoid fast food as much as possible. Sometimes you splurge in terms of diet and price, but I'll take hummus and cut vegetables and, already sliced cheese and crackers. If I'm providing myself with food, I try to make it healthy because I know it may not be the case on offering at other times during a trip.
Sure. I liked something that you said. You like to have things that you have at home. I know that
Right.
lots of people, when they're traveling, they're like, oh, we need to have special things and like things that they wouldn't ordinarily eat at home. And then their body responds to them way differently.
Right.
And it makes the trip a little more, let's say, uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
I liked that tip. I liked that tip a lot. Yeah. All right. So when Matt and I travel, we do like to try the local foods. So we went to Arizona, and one of the things to eat in Tucson, Arizona is a Sonoran hot dog. Has to be the fattiest, most junk food thing ever, but you have to eat it because you're there. What do you do? What are some of your tips for people who want to eat healthy but still want to eat those local delicacies or treats?
Cut your portions. That's
Oh,
the biggest thing. I mean, there's no question that if that hot dog was a must do where you are, and as long as it doesn't fly in the face of your dietary restrictions,
sure.
of course you want to taste it, but maybe cut it in half and share it with somebody else you're traveling with. Many years ago, I did restaurant reviews locally, and I did it for a few years. And some of the things that we learned fast were, if the bread on the table is not a signature item, taste it to see how it is, and then put the rest aside.
Mm.
If the appetizer's huge, don't eat all of it. There's a lot of issues with food waste, and I get that, but there's also a lot of issues with food portions.
Oh, holy cow.
You gotta take care of yourself. Unfortunately, the restaurant is the one who's going to have to deal with how much waste they have.
Right. Well, we talk a lot on the Healthy Lifestyle Show about portion control, especially when we get to Foodie Friday and things like that. We talked about portion control. I have cholesterol issues, and I really have to watch my saturated fat. So when I travel for these jobs, I go to Ottumwa, Iowa to interview the chef. I got to eat whatever he hands me, but you only have to try it. You have to be able to write about it. You have to be able to show it and tell what you thought. But yeah, you don't have to eat it all. That's a great tip. What was I just going to ask? Oh, have you ever come across a food restriction or a food that you just cannot eat in restaurant reviews? Like, I can't have it, or...
Yeah, I mean, case in point, my hormones seem to be shifting. Sometimes that can impact what you can eat, I've learned. And 2 Novembers ago, I was going to the Alabama Gulf Coast at a time when I was still trying to figure out whether I could eat shellfish or not.
Oh.
And simultaneously did not want to take a risk and become sick on the trip.
Sure.
So I felt compelled to avoid all shellfish, even though I was in one of the U.S. capitals of shellfish.
Wow, that would be a difficult one.
Yeah.
Did anybody? I guess nobody had really any issues with that.
No, they didn't.
That's good. That's excellent. Marty's crew is saying that's what to-go boxes are for. Yes, Matt and I have done that before. We do beer reviews on our Thirsty Thursday. We have a Thirsty Thursday thing, playlist. And so we do beer reviews, but after you've had a taste tester of beers and they want you to try this food and that food, and hey, here's some toasted raviolis to go along with that. And you're like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So
yeah,
that's an excellent tip. Marty's crew, to-go boxes, and then you can eat the other part later or share it with someone else or whatever. So
but the thing is, if you're in let's say a press trip situation,
sure,
you may not have refrigeration that you're going to be anywhere near in order to stash that to-go box. And so if I'm on a group trip, I just have to acknowledge, hey, this is not an option. And just because it's not an option doesn't mean I have to finish the whole plate, because then I don't feel good.
Right. I had that problem with pie. We were people, they're like, oh, we do this thing and this thing and this thing, and we have homemade pie at such and such diner that we go to. And I'm like, oh, we have to try the pie. But yeah, I've left a lot of pie sitting, and yeah, I'm sure my grandmother would not be happy with that, but that's all right. And yeah, so that's a thing. All right. So I would like to know, well, actually, I want to introduce you. We're halfway through the show at this point. For those of you who might have come in late, this is Lisa Waterman Gray, and she is a professional travel writer. And I am just meeting Lisa for the first time today, but she and I are both part of the Midwest Travel Network, and that's where I met her from. As a travel professional, what do you find as the hardest part of your job, Lisa?
Well, the travel's not hard. The writing, well, it can be. I mean, if you're not calling the shots on your schedule, that can be a challenge sometimes. But overall, that's not the challenge. Writing it is typically pretty straightforward, although you do have to make sure you're accommodating the voice of the publication that you're writing for. I would say, and this is true in all areas of freelance writing nowadays, finding the markets is the toughest part. Holding on to them too. So for instance, I was working with an editor for 3.5 years who I adored, and I was doing some travel writing without any byline, but still the pay was great. The assignments were great. She left. And her replacement used me maybe once, twice in the following 18 months, and I haven't heard from her since. So the whole arena of getting and keeping markets, sometimes through no fault of your own, is the biggest challenge.
Wow, that's quite a I mean, that is a challenge. I know that pitching stories is really hard for me as a new blogger, but to hear that as someone who's been doing it for a long time, that's yeah. It's interesting. Gemma's Journey Grace is here, and she said sometimes it would be difficult for people to try new foods. Gemma has an autism channel, and so she says I'm really anxious when I try new foods. Again, it's about what Lisa said about portion control. She also has a question. How does Lisa cope with different foods and smells? Does anything bother her until the point she can't be around it? So that's a good question, Gemma.
First off, I don't recall any situations where smells have bothered me so much that I felt I couldn't be around it.
Sure.
As far as coping with different foods, again, I think it can be helped by portion control. I may not like the texture of octopus, but if you're going to a restaurant where that's one of their signature appetizers, if you don't have a legitimate allergy or sensitivity, if you can manage to taste it and find what the texture's like, find out how salty it is, whatever aspects of food you like to judge something by, I think that's a really good way to try and approach food. I can't think of much of anything for which I don't have a sensitivity.
Sure.
That I haven't at least tried.
Gotcha. And I have the same thing. I don't like liver and onions, but it is a staple at one of the cafes that we've been to down in central Missouri. And they're like, we have the best liver and onions. And I'm like, great. Is there anybody who can I get a half order? Something to that effect. But yes, that's a great question, Gemma. And I think that sometimes it comes down to just your experiences and learning to experience new things. And right. I can see where Gemma with having autism would be a different hurdle for her to get over. So my next question for you is, what is your favorite part about travel writing?
Learning new things.
Yeah.
I think what has become apparent to me is that I'm naturally curious, and in travel writing, curiosity goes a really long way. A willingness to talk to people who are different from people you've ever met before, a willingness to go in a hot air balloon when you don't know anybody who's ever done that before, so you don't know what to expect. Sitting in the flatbed of a pickup truck with a couple hundred buffalo following the truck. You have an idea perhaps of a story focus or something you want to present to readers as part of a story. And sometimes that means just saying, okay, I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
I would go hot air ballooning again in a heartbeat.
Me too.
So it's just, I think being willing to jump off of a metaphorical cliff is a good thing, as long as you feel like all of your safety needs are being taken care of.
Sure. Awesome. And we do have another question from the chat. And Our Haunted Travels wants to know if you've had any favorite historical or haunted locations. They saw your blog about the spirits and that you believe in spirits, so they're interested.
So hiking is not part of my choice of activities generally.
That's okay. No, they were just saying that to me. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That was me. So the question is, any favorite historic or haunted locations?
Okay, got it. So one of my favorites is in Independence, Missouri. There is a jail that's been renovated to the period, and they maintain it to the period, when Jesse James was one of the inmates. But in that time period, apparently in small towns, they would often have the jail in the lower level of this building structure. And the person who kind of ran the jail and family might live in upper levels. And so there was a receiving parlor. I went with a paranormal group one evening, and we were sitting in a small room next to the receiving parlor. And it was dark, and, there were candles and flashlights. And all of a sudden, and I was not the only one, all of a sudden, several of us caught a distinct whiff of perfume. And it hadn't been there before. It just hadn't. And then also all of us were taking photos, and I thought I saw something on a stairway, but I wasn't sure. And since I was writing a story about the experience, I sent some photos to the folks who run the group. And one of them said, yeah, that looks like a spirit coming down the stairs. So probably because of my experience of it, that was one of my favorite places. You can go to places where they say it's haunted and really appreciate the building or the grounds. But when I have actual experiences, that's the most fun.
Yeah, that is cool. Our Haunted Travel says, now that's our type of vacation right there. Awesome. And Independence, Missouri is not close to St. Louis. It's on the other side of the state. But our Haunted Travels is coming to visit us over in the St. Louis area, hopefully this year. And I know that's going to be the next question. Can we go there? Well, we'll see. Lori Bryant says that part of the adventure of traveling is trying new things.
Absolutely.
And that's what I find as well. All right. My last question for you today, Lisa, is what is your dream destination or tour? Where do you want to go the most?
Well, I don't have just one.
Okay, of course not.
But the Galapagos are way up on the list.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I went to Italy once as a delegate for Slow Food International and did a little bit of exploration of an area where my mother's family lived like centuries ago. So I would love to explore some more of Northern Italy. My time was pretty limited because I was also in the country for this conference.
Sure.
If I'm choosing a broad area of the world that I would really love to explore, this would include the Galapagos, and that would be South America. There's something about Latin cultures that has appealed to me since I was a kid, and who knows what it is, but for instance, I've loved New Mexico for more than 30 years, and I know part of it is the natural environment, and I know part of it is the cultural environment.
Wow. That sounds wonderful. And yeah, people are saying Galapagos would be awesome. So that's very cool. Is there anything else that you would like to just share with our audience before we let you go today, Lisa?
Well, one other thing I thought of is if you're planning to travel to a significantly higher elevation than the elevation where you are most of the time, do take precautions because, I'll never forget our daughter getting sick when we went to the Rocky Mountains for the first time. And in Kansas City, we're at or near sea level. So that was a big jump. And you do an online search about dealing with higher altitudes. It can involve the food you eat, what you drink, your sleep, all kinds of things.
Yes.
And one of the best tips I ever found about dealing with elevation is when you get to your new place that you're going to be staying for a while, go barefoot or in stocking feet at ground level. You might even be in your hotel as long as there's no basement, and walk around, and the natural magnetic fields of the earth change depending on elevation. So if you do that, you're exposing yourself as closely as you can to the elevation in the new place.
That's a great tip. I I had never heard that, but that is a great tip. It makes lots of sense.
Yeah, it works.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we like heading west a lot. We did a Rockies road trip and well, we headed over there last summer and we headed west for our anniversary over in the first part of January. So yeah, we like going up in elevation. Mountains are cool. But
yeah,
that is a good tip. So well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Guys, Lisa has a YouTube channel that she puts up slideshows, and she does wonderful photography. So make sure you go over and check that out and tell her that Happy Trails Hiking sent you. And also go over and check out her website at lisawatermangray.com. And thank you, Lisa. If you'll hang out for just a second, I'm going to finish up the show. All right, everybody. That was number one thing to do is go over and visit Lisa at lisawatermangray.com or on her YouTube channel. Both of those links are in the description. And second thing I need you to do today is share this out with someone else who might be interested in some travel tips for healthy travel, and hit that like button for me. It lets YouTube know that I'm doing something that you like. And come back after this has posted and leave a comment. The more engagement that this video has, the better off it will be found after the fact. And the third thing that I need you to do is go out and live the life you love today. And remember, you, yes, you're not replaceable. Have a great day, guys.